This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler and Agins.
Within the multi-billion-dollar personalization market, the biggest opportunity right now is in custom photo flags. While there are hundreds of competitors out there vying for your business on putting a photo on t-shirts, custom photo books, hats, mugs, there's hardly anyone vying for photo flags. And there's a reason why. The flag marketplace is actually fairly complicated. It's difficult to make a flag. I brought a few examples in for you to see today. This is the first. This is a typical photo. This is a typical flag that's out there in the marketplace. They're made overseas, 5,000 to 10,000 at a time. They're beautiful. They usually have photographs of flowers, original artwork, Santa Clauses, Easter bunnies. Most consumers own between 3 and 6 of them. But making one in the United States is increasingly difficult. First of all, you have to print on both sides. We have a couple of competitors out there, and most are only printing on one side. They add a photo, but they're unable to print on both sides. The trick is that you actually have to line the product up. Our advantage is that we've been out there in the marketplace for about 10 years. Our company, would you mind clicking? Thank you. Our company has sold about $300 million in flags over the last 10 years. Our largest customer is Lowe's Home Improvement stores, and we have many other customers as well. We know how to make a flag. We work with over 100 artists nationwide on developing the art. We're pretty good at this. We very quickly learned that what we were doing when we created our new company, Flagology.com, was very, very different. We weren't just putting a photo on a flag. We were putting your heart on a flag. Shortly after going into beta testing in late 2013, we got a call from a customer who wanted to know if we could make an end-of-watch flag for her husband. We actually didn't know what that was, and in talking with her a little bit more, we discovered that her husband was a police officer who had died in the line of duty, and she wanted to create a flag that she could take with her to Washington, D.C. to the police memorial to really put a face on the people that die while serving our country. We created a couple of designs for her, and she fell madly in love with them, took it to D.C., and began to post on Facebook about what we were doing. So we now make end-of-watch flags for police officers, and we also created custom photo flags for American soldiers who are serving overseas. If you wouldn't mind going to the next page. We then received a contract with Lowe's Home Improvement stores, and early this year in January, we're actually the first personalization site that has ever gone up on Lowes.com. We created a custom site for them called Yard Gallery Designs, and you can actually reach that by going to Lowes.com/flags and clicking on custom photo flags. You can also go on Lowes.com and Google their search engine photo flags, and it'll come right up for you. In April of this year, we launched a new software program and really hit our online stride with Flagology.com by being able to be used on tablets and phones. We have a lot of strengths. Really, our main strength is we understand this business inside and out. It's about a $250 million a year business at retail. Our pricing is $25 for a garden flag and around $40 for a large flag. We have a couple different types of fabric, which no one else is able to have out there in the market. And we have an incredibly experienced team who understands both flags and also the retail business. And we have got ideas, lots of them. We have tons of new products that we're really ready to start development on pretty quickly. We're also a woman-owned small business, which is pretty exciting in the marketplace. We just applied for our certification for that and expect to receive that in August of this year. I think our last strength is people absolutely love our product. We have 100% 5-star reviews. Customers get incredibly excited when they receive our product. I'm actually going to skip through the next couple of slides and go to what we need. We are new to the online marketplace, and so our biggest needs are funding for marketing and SEO person and for a web developer. There's so many programs that we'd like to develop on additional new products, and we really need some strength in that area. Knowledge, customer acquisition is our number1 issue at this point. How do we we know how to do it in stores, but we don't know how to do it online. Our goal is 10,000 customers over the next 12 months and 100,000 customers over the next 3 years. There's really nobody in this space, and we'd like to own it, and we need some help to get there. And I think I'll stop there. Great.
Well, I can can jump in. Well, first of all, great business. When I looked at it last night, I thought it was just really interesting. It didn't look like a startup, I must admit. So I was trying to figure out that part. But just I want to say a lot of things I thought you did really well. Like right off the bat, you got my attention talking about the market size, because you could think it's like a little small, custom flags could sound small. So you said that in like the first or second sentence. And I know definitely the story was great. I mean, it was sort of the emotional draw and really put in perspective what you're doing, and which is a great business. And it's terrific that you have Lowe's as a partner. I was wondering, like, what does she need? Because it sounded like, okay, you've got this like $300 million business and everything's great. Like, go for it. So sort of, it took a while to understand what you need. And I would say I'm still not clear on that, because if you want to just have more marketing, it seems like you have plenty of revenue to self-fund.
So that was actually difficult to explain in a short presentation. So I own two companies. One is a manufacturer sales rep company. So we sell over $300 million worth of flags in the last 10 years, but we're a middleman for that. So that's not our funding or our funding resource.
So this is your direct-to-consumer
business.
That's right. Okay.
So this is really our first time going direct-to-consumer, and it's a separate company. So I was trying to convey that we have a lot of expertise, but we really don't have the funding to make this as big as we would like to make it.
That would be my main recommendation, is to just kind of know your audience. If you are pitching for an investor, just kind of get to that more quickly, because it seemed like, well, what does she need us for? And just to kind of get that out there more quickly, and how much cash you need, how big you think, it's sort of a typical investor presentation, how much cash you're looking for, like right off the bat on the first page. We're here because we're raising $1 million. And then, sort of what's in it for the investor.
Great.
So Susan, again, good job on the presentation. I liked, obviously, very knowledgeable about the space, with the number of years you've been in there. I, like Lori, was a little, sometimes we see customer pitches and sometimes we see investor pitches. And I wasn't really sure which one yours was. And part of the reason for that was there was no ask, right? So
do that up front.
So if it's an investor pitch, you would definitely want them to be clear around, okay, what am I asking for, right? So and again, I would reinforce what Lori said around the old company versus the new company. That kind of got lost in the mix. So it would have been better, a little more clarity around what I've had lots of years of background in this space, running this company, which has led me to this new company. I have to admit, I don't know about the rest of I got a little lost in that mix. And again, if it's an investor-focused pitch, the only thing I care about as an investor, honestly, is not even what your product is. It's the team. And I know you kind of ran out of time, but you skipped the team completely. And that's the thing that I was I was more interested in the team, and especially with your background. That from the glance that I saw of the team, it looked like they had some interesting backgrounds as well. I would have definitely wanted to see a lot more of that.
That sounds great. Yeah, we have a very strong team, and they have a lot of sourcing background, a strong retail background. So they're actually the thing that we're probably the most proud of, and we're able to use resources from one company to really develop an infrastructure for the second company.
And one other thing, so obviously the Lowe's relationship is obviously a big deal for you. I'm presuming that's coming from the prior company. You were doing some distribution.
Yeah, we had
with
relationships from them. That's right.
And I think, again, as an investor looking at this, I want to know more about what that relationship with Lowe's is, right? Do they have an equity stake? Are they thinking about an equity stake? Is it some kind of exclusive for, I know that Lowe's typically, if you're selling in the Lowe's, they don't want you selling in the Home Depot. A little bit more details about what that, because you presented that as sort of a pivotal, a key strategic relationship. I'd like to have heard a little bit more about what the details of that look like.
Great.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is page 1, put the ask, and it sets the tone for the rest of the 5 minutes.
Got it.
And not only that, also, again, so is it $500,000? What are you looking for in terms of investment? Anything?
Yeah, we need around $300,000 right now.
So the other, get that out there, and then the other part is, what are you using it for? And I think you got at that a little bit because it was your marketing person, and but again, just sometimes investors are pretty dense. You need to take a blunt instrument out and beat them over the head.
Okay, we definitely need someone to work on advertising and marketing, as well as web online development of our program, and then advertising dollars.
Great.
And I think an investor, and I've definitely seen a lot of investor presentations. It's literally on page one, this is what we're here to do, and then you go through the presentation. But I do think once you get to that, investors will be interested, like, how much money have you already put into it? And you probably have self-funded a lot, but that'll be one of the things that they'll definitely want to address.
Okay.
How much you put in.
And is that something that you put in the presentation, or you let people ask about?
I think you could put it in the presentation. I think that's pretty common. In fact, I've seen it also on page one, funding to date, X amount from the founders, like right on the first page, and then you get into the details of it. And then of course, they'll want typical things like cash flow projections, and of course, who knows, but with you're going to be under a little bit more pressure to have real cash flow projections because you've got some history. If you were totally like de novo, nobody really expects any kind of credible cash flow projections, but when you've got a history, you've got a little bit, and I know you don't have a history in online specifically, but
yeah, that's actually one of the challenges for us, I think, is because we really don't have that many customers at this point. We feel like we have a good product and a good story, and we know a lot about the industry, but we really don't know how to get those customers online. So I'm always curious about, do I expose that early on, or
I mean, you just put it out there, but then like, what are your milestones? So you're going to use this funding to hit certain milestones, to either have a pilot or to prove certain assumptions. I mean, the projections are all about assumptions. So the more you can go through and say, these are the 3 or 4 critical drivers of our business. I mean, maybe it's your conversion rates, your acquisition cost is cost per customer is a big one. So you're going to use these marketing funds to prove out those assumptions, and then that gives credibility to the next round of projections.
Okay, great, thank you.
One other point, I did like here's what ours look like versus what the competition looks like. Visuals like that are always very good. Yeah. It did raise a little bit of a question that you didn't address in your deck, was around, is there any specialized intellectual property that you have?
No.
No. Okay. So again, then it's speed to market. Then is getting there and getting involved with some of these big players from a distribution point of view. And when you started to talk about customers and using the hiring somebody to do marketing, search engine optimization to bring customers on board, you cited some numbers that were so fast I couldn't capture. But I think
too much coffee.
That's okay. One of the endpoints, if I captured it right, was right now you have 500 customers.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And when you're saying 500 customers, is that 500 businesses that are selling the product, or it's 500 users?
That's right. That's right. We really did launch in January of this year. Is the true website, and that's about how many customers we have.
So
and
it's
we
like consumer level customers.
At the consumer level, that's correct. So, and Lowe's is our only major retailer. So we're really at the very starting point of that, and what we need is to understand customer acquisition cost and the best way to go about acquiring them.
I just I would do 500 to me if you're actually in all of the Lowe's stores, right? Because there are a lot of those. That doesn't seem like a very big number.
Is that 500 direct or 500 through Lowe's?
No, that's 500. We have 500 customers. When you launch on an online program through Lowe's, honestly, it's not as fast as you would think it would be. It's really not. Their online business is not nearly as strong as some other customers is, and it's just a slow acquisition process. That being said, we're very excited to be in there. They only had the search function go up about 2 weeks ago. So while we started in January, I think that now we'll start seeing a faster acquisition rate on customers. But we still think there's still an advertising that's needed. It's really not a product that's available to anyone right now. So most people are not searching for it. So we really need to know, even beyond having flags in the stores and they're having a very good website, how do we make sure people know that this is an available product and that they want it?
Right. One other, on a separate issue, it was like a loose question in my head. You talked about one of your advantages is that you print on both sides.
Yes.
And that seems like a pretty critical, competitive advantage. And I wanted a little bit more understanding, how is that a patented process? How is it that you're able to do that and others aren't? So just something else that maybe you kind of leave people guessing. That's for the next meeting. But it just kind of begged for a little bit more explanation.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Exciting business.
Thank you.
Thank you.